Welcome to City and State TV. I'm Morgan Pechma. Today our guest is Gary LaBarbera. He is the president of the BuildUpNYC coalition. Gary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Morgan.
So tell us about the BuildUpNYC coalition, because it's a relatively new entity.
Yes, well, we've been in existence for approximately 2 years, and the coalition is made up of three organizations, all in the real estate industry, which is the New York City Building Trades Council, the 32BJ of SEIU, and Hotel Trades Council. And it's a coalition that's been formed because what we stand for is responsible development. And what we mean by responsible development essentially is development that incorporates good jobs that lead to careers and strengthening the middle class. And what we're attempting to do is really level the playing field. There are a lot of responsible developers in the city who engage with these organizations, these unions, and they give back essentially to the community by ensuring that there are good jobs with careers, jobs that have good wages, health care, pension, safe workplace. And for these developers, we believe these developers need to have a level playing field. And so that's really the fundamental principle of Build Up New York.
And so how does the affordable housing factor into the work that you're trying to do?
Right, well, what we are part of our campaign in particular that we have ongoing now with Alma Realty, it encompasses the affordable housing piece. One of the fundamental.
And when you're saying Alma, they're the company
developer, right?
Trying to build Astoria Cove.
Yes, exactly, Morgan. And in terms of the affordable housing, we believe in order to have really a sustainable middle class, there are two things. One is, again, good jobs that lead to careers, but also affordable housing. You can't have a strong middle class if you don't have both. So as part of the Build Up coalition, we are focusing on development in this city, and of course we take into consideration the importance of more affordable housing.
And I mean, you recently have kind of floated this idea that union workers could take a reduction in their wages in order to build affordable housing. Could you talk about that, what exactly that proposal is?
Well, I mean, in terms of that's really a building trades proposal. And essentially what we're talking about there is really creation of a new workforce. And we've been in a lot of conversations with the administration regarding this. And we believe that there is a way that the finances and economics of affordable housing can work with a workforce that comes in and works at what would be considered 40% of the current rate, a full A rate. But the idea is not essentially to have workers take a reduction. The idea is to be able to open up opportunity for people in the community and people that are currently working in non-union construction, to give them an opportunity to come into the unions. And that's really part of it. So it's a fundamental principle of this, again, is creating an environment in which even in the affordable housing arena, where there's been much debate over whether or not you can actually build affordable housing union, we believe you can. And we believe the numbers work. And beyond just that component, the larger issue is the issue of opening up opportunity for workers to come into unions. And then by becoming a union member, the things that we've mentioned earlier, there will be good wages, there'll be health care benefits, there'll be retirement security. Very important component, big difference between union and non-union is a safe work environment. So we are very much committed to building a stronger middle class. And again, as I said, we think there are two components. One is good wages, good benefits, good jobs that lead to careers, and the other component is affordable housing.
You know, as you allude to, I mean, historically there has been a resistance by affordable housing developers to hire union, but it seems like that there's a greater responsiveness to this now that some affordable housing developers sent you a letter
Yes, exactly.
saying that they want to learn more. So, how have you seen the environment change?
Well, I mean, I think obviously there's going to be a much greater focus on affordable housing with this administration, which is very timely and appropriate. So also, I believe that because of the goals and the ambitions, the reality is that there's going to be a need for more capacity. And so I think that's one of the reasons why NYSAFA has, sat down with us. We've had some very good meetings actually, and we are now really in discussions with NYSAFA again with the administration about seeing how we can work together to accomplish these goals. And for the affordable housing developers in that community that's always been critical of being able to build these projects union, I think they realize that with some adjustments and with increased density, there is clearly a possibility to accomplish that. And in doing so, and I want to believe, they recognize the importance of creating good jobs. That's the message that we're really trying to get out in the building trades as well as in build up. I mean, that is, again, where we started. That is what we advocate for. We advocate for responsible development that leads to good jobs with careers, and we are advocating for more affordability in the city because we believe that you have to have both to have a strong middle class. That's really what we're trying to do is build a middle class.
And talking about Astoria Cove, the Queensborough president has come out in opposition to the project, the community board, the local council member. I mean, what is it that you object to with the plans by Alma Realty to build Astoria Cove?
Well, there's a lot that we object to. And one of the things, let me just say is in a little bit of background, in our opinion, Alma has not been a responsible developer. I could cite a number of issues, out in Brooklyn and Far Rockaways. This is Astoria Cove is a 1,700 unit. There's going to be a lot of luxury units in there. There's a lot of wealth and there's a lot of density in this project, and they really don't want to have any standards in terms of how they want to build it or maintain it. And again, going back to our very fundamental principles, we don't think this is appropriate at all. As I said, there is no reason why, in terms of the economics of this project, that this project cannot be built with good jobs that lead to careers through the unions and maintained with good jobs that are careers. So the fact that they want to really take and take, but not give anything back, that's a problem. That's not responsible. And the other thing that I may mention is that at a recent City Hall hearing, Alma testified that they're looking for 421A tax abatement. They're going to be looking for tax break, essentially, for 25 years. But yet they don't want to give anything back. So, they want taxpayers to subsidize, in essence, this development, but they don't want to have any sense of responsibility to taxpayers. They have a history of using very irresponsible subcontractors. They have their own construction Vordonia that has many DOB violations in their portfolio. There's over 1,100 HPD violations, and I mean, these are serious violations that are not resolved. So if you take Alma, as there's many things we object to, we don't see them as a responsible developer. And we believe on a project of this density and with this much capacity, and there's a tremendous amount of wealth in that project for them, that there needs to be a responsible reaction. And that responsible reaction is to ensure that this project is built in a safe manner, first of all. Secondly, that it's built with jobs through the unions that provide good wages and provide health care and provide training. And we believe it should be maintained with workers that are part of the union, 32BJ, that have those same things, that have good wages and health care and retirement security, training, safety. That's what is responsible. And for a developer of this size to just ignore those responsibilities, that's unacceptable.
Well, some of the aversion to the project that was expressed in the community board meeting was about the cutting of the number of affordable housing units that was initially, named for this project. And we hear, increasingly there's the 80-20 split that the Bloomberg administration had really pushed for affordable housing, and now the de Blasio administration seems to have much more ambitious goals. But is there a point where the economics on the developer side become just impossible? I mean, if you're pushing for a 60-40 split where it's no longer feasible for the developer to be able to build projects like this and still be able to turn a profit.
Okay, so let me answer that question. Currently now there is essentially three buckets in the affordable housing arena. One bucket is the bucket that we currently build. The mayor did his announcement out in BAM and a project in Brooklyn. That was a 100% union project because of the value of the project. And Hunters Point South is a very large affordable housing project that's being built union. We use project labor agreements to address those issues. We're in discussions with Forest City Ratner about Atlantic Yards, which is going to incorporate a lot of affordable housing as well. So to think that it's not feasible to build affordable housing union and operate a union, that's a fallacy, number one. Then there's another bucket that tends to be very small, block and plank work, which granted is difficult to make those kind of projects work. We're not talking about that type of project here with Astoria Cove at all. This is, again, 1,700 units, 4 towers, a very dense project. And then there's a middle bucket, and that is the bucket in which we believe with the discussions that we have, that we can come up with a scenario that will be able to incorporate, again, good jobs with careers, being maintained with good jobs with careers, and the economics can work. So, that's why we're in discussions, and I think ultimately that's why NYSAFA has, engaged with us. And I have to say we had a very positive meeting, and I've had some individual conversations with some members of NYSAFA, and so there was really a discussion going on, as you alluded to. So, listen, I really believe that when we put pencil to paper and we sit down and if we work collaboratively and really engage in an effort to be responsible, I think that there is every possibility that these projects can be built, as I described.
Have you seen a willingness to compromise on the behalf of Alma? Or do you think that there's a possibility that this project could be scuttled altogether? Or do you think that it will have to be dialed back?
I'm going to be very, very honest with you. We have been in conversations with Alma, but we have not reached a formal agreement, and we don't believe anything short of a written assurance and a written agreement with this particular developer will work. And as I said earlier, and I wanted to point out again, our coalition, the building trades, 32 BJ halted, we are pro-development, but we're pro-responsible development. And I will tell you that if we can't reach agreements and Alma does not act responsibly, then we are urging City Council to say no to this project. It's not something we want to do. We want to see development, but it has to incorporate all the things I discussed, and it has to incorporate more affordable housing. I mean, out on Vernon Boulevard, they're building projects now that are not being built responsibly. One of the things that they want to do is they have some properties that are rent controlled. They want to move them out of rent control and go to market rate. I mean, how is this responsible? How is this appropriate in this day and age when we know in this city there is such a need for affordable housing? So, they want to reap the benefits, but they don't want to give anything back. And that's what the issue here is, and that's why we've taken a stand on this, and we're working very hard along with our colleagues, as you mentioned, the borough president and the council member. They all see what we see. They want to see, the issue is, look, we want more affordability in this project, and we want to see that these jobs are good jobs that lead to careers and that can support, the efforts of building a stronger middle class.
Yeah, getting back to what you were saying about this possibility of union workers compromising on their wages in order to build affordable housing, and you're saying that, this is to encourage more people to get involved with the unions. I mean, have you seen a real appetite among non-union laborers to get into the unions? And to what degree do you think the unions could grow under the right circumstances?
Well, I will tell you yes to the appetite for non-union workers. We always engage and have, we had a rally yesterday on another development on 57th Street, JDS. And at this rally, there were many union business managers that spoke, but they brought members up to speak. And all of these members at one time worked in the non-union construction industry and now are in the union construction industry. And they tell their story. And to hear the member story of what the difference is to be working in a non-union construction environment as opposed to a union construction environment, is the gravity of this is, unbelievable. The exploitation that goes on non-union work sites, the lack of safety. I mean, they don't even allow workers to take bathroom breaks. I mean, forget about coffee break. They work excessive hours without being paid. Any worker, nobody wants to work in these conditions. And many non-union workers are reaching out to the unions now. And that's part of the reason why we think the timing is right, because they're tired, they're fed up of working in these conditions. They want to be a part of something bigger. They want to be a part of the middle class. And that's not going to happen in the non-union sector. It's not going to happen. And it's one thing for me to say this repeatedly, and I've been saying it for years, but when you hear the testimony of workers and you listen to their stories, it is extremely compelling. And I think it is raising the awareness of electeds in this city that are really beginning to understand what's taking place on these projects. And these workers are their constituents that are being exploited. And so I think the momentum in the city is changing. There's no question that workers want to be a part of the middle class. There's no question that workers want a better life for themselves and their families. These are all the promises that this great country of ours offer. And yes, so we see a real possibility for growth and development of the middle class. And in the end result, the unions will grow. And we think that's a positive thing because, again, we support the principles that really make the middle class what it is today.
Yeah, and lastly, I wanted to ask you, your opposition to the Astoria Cove development, do you see this as kind of like drawing a line in the sand for other projects? Is this emblematic of a larger fight?
Yes, absolutely. This is just one. We've had other campaigns that we've been successful in the last 2 years and raised the same issues. And we've been able to sit down and resolve issues with developers, that projects that were not going to be built what we consider responsibly are now going to be built, maintained, and operated responsibly. And guess what? It works. The numbers work, right? So, the question is, or the reality is, if you take some of the greed out of it and you look to be responsible, these projects can be built this way, they can be maintained this way, they can be operated this way, and I see as we continue and our success continues, we're seeing a real different dynamic in the industry, and we're very encouraged by it.
Gary LaBarbera, president of the BuildUpNYC Coalition, thank you so much for joining us on City and State TV.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.